Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi Kareem. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have a message today for our young Muslims, our young Muslim males and young Muslim females. In regards to the current state that we are in with COVID-19, aka the coronavirus, and some of the young people today, and especially myself, growing up, I always thought that I was invincible, and some of us may have this mindset, that you're feeling, invincible, to this coronavirus. But keep in mind, that in fact, a lot of the youth, can be carriers, of this virus. And what's happening is that, the mindset of our youth is that they're reading these reports, saying that, those people that are afflicted, fall ill, or, even, that actually has died because of this virus, or people that had underlying, medical issues, or they were the elderly, or young people that had, weak immune systems, or their immune systems have not fully, developed yet, right? So sometimes, this is, what's happening is affecting the mindset, our young people think that, they are invincible, but they can actually be, the carriers, of this virus, and that they can actually be passing on to others, and doing, greater harm. So you definitely have to take precautions, as young people, with this virus, and take the necessary, measures to avoid, large crowds, and coming in contact, with people, and make sure that you're, washing your hands, and just taking care of your cleanliness, overall. And you shouldn't joke around with this virus. You shouldn't make jokes about this virus. And we know that there was an NBA player who was joking around at a media conference, and then he began to actually touch the microphones. And then later, when they actually tested him, for the coronavirus, he tested, positive. And because of this, this is one of the events that caused the NBA to shut down the season indefinitely. So the season could be shut down, for the rest of the season, for the playoffs. And this also caused a trickle effect, to the NCAA. And other, sports, sports as well. They shut down for the entire season. So what should we do instead? Rather, we should make dua, right? We should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And one dua that I would like to share with our young people today, and a lot of our young people, they are already familiar with this particular dua. But this dua, it shows us the power of Bismillah. Right, the power of Bismillah. And we use Bismillah in different ways throughout the day, in different ways throughout our lives, right? So we may use Bismillah, before we eat. We may use Bismillah when we put on our clothes, or we remove our clothes. We may use Bismillah when we leave our homes, right? And so forth and so on, right? And Bismillah itself, it brings, Allah's blessings, whatever we do. It can bring the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But this particular dua that I would like to share with our young people today is using the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection, for protecting us from any harm. And the dua is Bismillah alladhi la yaduru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa sami'un alim. Right? That we begin in the name of Allah, who with his name, right, by his name, nothing in the earth, right? And nothing in these heavens can do any harm, right? That if we connect ourselves with the name of Allah, Bismillah, right, with the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then nothing, right, on the face of the earth, nothing in the heavens can do us any harm, right? So this is a form of protection for all of us, including our young people, right? وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. And He, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is all hearing and He is all knowing. So again, Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa as-sami'ul alim. Right, and if we actually say this dua 3 times in the morning, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, He will protect us, right, throughout the morning until the evening. Right, and then we should repeat the same dua 3 times in the evening. And if we do that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect us all the way into the morning. So when we say this a total of 6 times, right, we are receiving 24-hour protection, right, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, and this dua, it allows us to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control. Right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-An'am, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُوَ وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if, right, He touches you, right, or afflicts you, or puts you in contact, right, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He puts you in contact or afflicts you with any harm, فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ, then there is no way that this harm can be removed from you, right, except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the only one that can remove this harm, right, can remove this affliction, right? And the thing is that, this word فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ, kashif, right, it means to remove. And also in the scientific, understanding, it means to reveal something, to disclose something, to actually, discover something, right? So when we look at, just the coronavirus itself, it's something that is microscopic, right? It's something that is not even visible to the naked eye, right? To the human eye, that has to be magnified, millions of times, right, in order for us to even see what this virus actually looks like, right? So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just with His power and His might, right, He uses this particular virus, right, this microscopic thing, right, and look at all of this panic and chaos that is going on, at this particular time, right? That, we are so advanced scientifically that we have not even, found a cure, for this virus, فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ, that no one can remove this, right, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And when you look at just the scientific discoveries throughout history, a lot of that, right, is by, coincidence. A lot of times, these scientists, they are actually in the lab, they are doing their labs and they're doing their tests, looking for cures for many diseases, right? But a lot of times it's coincidentally that they come across, the actual cure. Because why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one that allowed them to discover that. Right? He is the one that disclosed, right, the actual cure. It wasn't the scientists themselves. It wasn't the medical professionals themselves, right? But it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that allowed them to see something that they were not even expecting to see, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to witness this at this particular moment, and then at these moments, right, they said, oh, we've discovered, the cure. But actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that puts you in that place at that particular time, right, that caused something to actually happen, right? So you can never take claim, over these discoveries, because again, if it wasn't for the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will have never allowed you to even recognize this, right? And then, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ right? And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in any type of contact with good, right? No one can deprive you of it, right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he wants good for an individual or for a people or for a nation, right, then no one can actually do harm, to this person or to these people, right? And no one can deprive them of the goodness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Why? Because He is capable of all things, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has power over all things, right? Including science, right? Because if it wasn't for, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then fire would never burn, right? A knife would never cut, right? Chemicals would never mix, right? Cures would never be discovered if it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of all of our affairs, in control of, everything in the heavens and the earth, right? And we understand, the power of Bismillah, of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how it can bring us, blessings, how it can bring us mercy, how it can bring us, right, protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from all types of harms. Right? So again, we conclude, Bismillah alladhi la yaduru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa sami'un alim. Right? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, to protect us, from all types of harm. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, to allow us to recognize, His power and His ability. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put good, in our lives, in the lives of our family and our friends and our community members. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.